Yo, what's good? Big Z here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make really good fills and some methods and techniques I use to make my fills sound better. So I'm going to be making a fill from scratch. So here's this empty project, and let's get right into it. So you always want your fill to have some kind of rhythm in your track. So a good thing to set the rhythm for your fill is like a clap or a tom or a snare. And then after that, it's all about layering other things on top of that, maybe pitch shifting some things and using some uplifters and risers and stuff like that to kind of just put the cherry on top. So I'm going to start with a tom, I think, for this one. So I'm going to go into my drum samples folder and look for a good tom to use. So this last one's kind of short and snappy, so I think I'm going to use this one for the fill. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that into my project. And I want total control over this tom, so I'm not just going to keep it as an audio file, I'm actually going to sample it in Logic Sampler. So I'm going to hit Control E to do that, and just call it tom, and then create the sampler track. And I'm just going to set it up really quick. I'm going to delete this MIDI file for now. And now I'm going to go into the sampler and change it from poly to mono. And that's because I don't want the different hits of the tom bleeding into each other. So it's always only one playing at a time. Then I'm going to change this pitch bend function to 12 so I can maybe pitch bend it a little bit. And then I'm going to go into this edit tab and just make sure it's right in the middle of my keyboard and I can play it across my whole keyboard. So now that it's all set up, I'm just going to go into a MIDI file and create the first part of the fill. So I want it to be like a bar long probably. So I'm just going to create a note right here and work off that. And a great thing about doing it this way is you can mess around with the velocity of the different tom hits, so it makes your fill sound way more realistic. So I'm just going to kind of create a random rhythm here to use for the fill. So it helps to mess around with those velocities just to make it sound a little bit more like a real drummer is actually playing the tom. Another cool thing I like to do is go into the pitch bend section and mess around with that. So I'm going to go down here, go to pitch bend, and I'm going to maybe make this fall in pitch as it goes down. Alright, so that's a good start to our fill. So I think on that fourth quarter note of the fill, I'm going to want a big snare hit or something too. But for now, I'm going to want to layer this tom with something to make it a little more interesting. So I might layer with a clap actually. So I'm just going to go into my claps folder and find like a short, snappy clap that could work. So this could work fine. I'm just going to drag this in here and I'm going to make it the exact same rhythm as my tom. So I'm just going to loop this while I mix in the clap a little bit. I might try to put some sample delay on it just to give it some separation in the stereo field from the tom. Another great tool to use on fills is compression and transient shaping. So I'm going to shape the transient of this tom a little bit because I think it kind of sounds like it's dragging on too long with the release. So first I'm going to compress it a little bit. I'm going to use Waves Renaissance Compressor and I'm just going to compress it a tiny bit. Then I'm just going to use the enveloper from Logic, which is just a transient shaper. So I'm going to see if these same settings work on the clap too, to make sure it's kind of in sync release wise with the tom. So now it's all sounding a little bit tighter. So now I want to add some big snare hit or something on that fourth quarter note. So I'm going to go and check out some snares. Alright, so I think I'm going to try to use this one and then layer it with some other stuff to make it sound bigger. So I'm going to layer it with a big clap and maybe something else too. I think I need some white noise to make it sound even bigger. So actually in Cashmere's newest pack, which I have down here, if you go into drums and then drum enhancers, there's some cool things that you can layer with snares and they sound really good. So I'm going to go down to the noise section and see if I can find a good one to layer. I'm going to try this one. So that sounds good, that white noise hit on top of it. Without it, it sounds like this. Now with it, just sounds a lot more full now. So now we can kind of start to dress up the fill with some reverses and effects and stuff. So a good thing to do is reverse your snare hit and build that up to the snare. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this track, maybe drag this down here to use as my reverse. I'm going to mute this for now. I'm just going to make it a little shorter and reverse it and put a little fade in and fade out on it. And now I'm going to add some reverb to it. Sometimes it helps to add a tiny bit of OTT to make the tail a little stronger. And now I'm going to pack this in a folder and I'm going to bounce it to a new track. Now I'm going to delete that and reverse this new audio file I have and just cut off the beginning part of it so it's just the reverse tail playing. I'm going to put this in line with the rest of the fill and maybe make it fade in up to that part. So now I'm just going to play the snare and the reverse snare for now to get the level right on this reverse. So I think it just really needs a riser or something to finish off the fill. So I'm going to go into my sample pack folder again and I'm going to go to my effects and my uplifters. And I have a couple short ones here that could sound good. So I'm going to try this one out. And I'm going to want to put it in line with the rest of the fill. I'm just going to take the tail out so it stops when that hit comes in. So now I think it's pretty much finished. This fill is sounding really good and really full now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned a couple little tips and tricks to use on your own fills. It's really fun creating fills from scratch and you have complete control over the rhythm you want to use and what samples and layers you want to use. So it's pretty fun. I definitely highly encourage making your own fills instead of just using ones from sample packs. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify below. And other than that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.